All right, guys, what's happening? What's happening? It is Friday, January 14th, 2022. This morning, I'm coming to you live from Salt Lake City, Utah, out here at the D2D Con. And we're going to help some people with some marketing today. But I wanted to kick my morning off here. It is 6 a.m. here, local time, Mountain Standard Time. And I wanted to kick the morning off with, something that's really become a major part of my life, and that is reading books, and listening to audiobooks. But really being able to consume that information has been a massive change in my life. It's given me knowledge and perspective that otherwise I wouldn't have. And so I want to talk to you guys this morning about the power of reading. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right, what's happening, guys? And happy Friday to you, man. I see the Lions down there in the comments. Definitely, guys, get focused. It's a Friday. This is the place where people separate themselves. Days like today, Fridays, where people are able to take the next step in their life while everybody else is asleep at the wheel. Fridays, to me, are one of the most important days that you can have. Monday's a very important day too, but man, Friday is a day where you're able to create separation between you and your former self, you and your competition. Just a great day, and so hopefully you guys are off to an amazing Friday. I was up early here, man, like 4 a.m. Because I'm still on East Coast time, so I was up super early and just excited to get into this topic with you guys this morning. I finished my sixth book of the year so far, so 6 books in 14 days. I'm on a mission this year to really consume as much knowledge as I possibly can. And I really wondered how that was going to go, how reading at that pace or listening to audiobooks at that pace was going to have an impact on me, right? Could I actually consume and utilize the information? And what I've learned is that number one, we are able to process far more information than we think we are. And I've learned a couple of other things that I want to share with you guys this morning with regard to how to attack reading books, how to attack reading them in mass quantity if you want to consume a lot of information. So I'm going to share some of that with you guys this morning and hopefully give you some great perspective on what reading books and listening to audiobooks can do for you. And it has done tremendous things for me just in the first 14 days of this year. But over the last handful of years, it's really been one of the game changers in my life to have, access to this kind of information, to have access to people in my life who are avid readers who give me great recommendations of what to read. All of that is very important in our own self development, right? And I know that all of us, we really have an easy look at each other to see how we're working ourselves out or taking care of ourselves physically. But ask yourself the question: how are you taking care of yourself mentally? And how are you taking care of making sure that the knowledge that you have continues to grow year over year in your life, and that this thing upstairs continues to work? I've read some books on that, on the activity of the brain and how when you don't use it, just like your body, it starts to slow and shut down. And so I have made a commitment to myself that that's not going to happen to me. I'm going to dive into books. I'm going to dive into knowledge at a higher level than I ever have before. And I'm going to double down on, showing myself what I'm capable from a consumption standpoint of knowledge, and then being able to distribute that knowledge to all of the people, including yourselves, that I get to interact with. So, with that said, we're going to dive into a couple of things. But as always, I want to say good morning to some folks. Randy, what's happening, man? Good morning. Rick, Ed, Jared, Daniel Good, David Martin, Tammy Clark, Gary. Good morning to you guys, and thanks for being here, man. It's awesome to spend the morning with you here from Salt Lake City. So, when it comes to reading books, there's a couple of things that I've figured out. Number one, audiobooks are incredible. If you guys don't have a subscription to Audible, That's a great solution. I'm sure there's other audio solutions out there. I've used Audible since, man, probably 2012, 2014, something like that. I don't know. It's been a long, long, long time. And I've been listening to audiobooks on there, the whole entire time. You get one book a month with your subscription to Audible. So you get one download a month that you can read, and that you can listen to. And in addition to that, you can buy additional credits. So you just go in and kind of buy additional credits, and then you can download as many books as you want. So with that said, audiobooks, there's some books that I've found that I really want to read that aren't available on audio. So I typically stick to reading those books because there's enough of them that I have to read. Like I've got one in my backpack right now, that I'm reading because it's not available on audio. But I try to get through as many audiobooks as I possibly can because I spend a lot of time, in motion where I can listen through these headphones. I can listen to this information when I'm on the plane, when I'm walking through the airport, when I'm waiting for somebody to pick me up, when I'm in the hotel room late at night instead of watching TV. Last night, I finished the book that I was listening to. So that's number one. I would encourage you guys, if you don't listen to audiobooks, I would encourage you to do that. I think that audio is going to become, it already is, but it's going to become more and more of a player in the future, because of its utility, right? It's just a very easy way to listen to things. Whether if you guys are listening on the podcast right now, you recognize the power of that, right? You recognize how easy it is to pop on a podcast and listen to it. Here's one thing I want to make sure that I stress to you guys is like, don't get crazy over, not having your undivided attention to a book, right? Like there's going to be distractions no matter what. When you're reading or when you're listening to an audiobook, there's always going to be distractions. This is something that really held me back in the past. I felt like, man, I didn't want to listen to an audiobook until, I could spend 100% of my attention on it, right? And so that really held me back a lot from listening to audiobooks. And what I've learned now is that, I catch so much information. If I have to pause it, I pause it, but I catch so much information. Sometimes I have to rewind it if I'm not completely dialed in and it's something that I heard that could be really important. But make sure that you're just committed to spending a certain amount of hours per week listening to audiobooks or reading books, right? And just put that into your schedule. The second thing that I've discovered here recently that I think is one of the most powerful things is I am a person that I love variety, right? I do a lot of different things professionally. I'm involved in multiple companies. I've got a lot going on. And so I read books the same way. And so I don't read just one book start to finish at a time. I don't listen to one book start to finish at a time. I try to mix in probably two or three books at a time. And one of those books, typically, I have several books in my Audible that are, 25, 35 hours long. And so I try to mix in those lengthy books with, regular length books so that I can still continue to make progress and knock books off without having to listen to 35 hours at a time, to be able to complete just one book at a time, because that kind of deters us from progress, right? It just gets exhausting when it takes that long to read a book. Transparently, it just sometimes you can lose interest. But if you can listen to that book for an hour at a time, and then you move to another book and you continue to make progress and knock books off your list, it seems that you make a lot more progress. It's a lot easier for you to stay focused and energized when it comes to consuming knowledge. Variety sometimes really is the spice of books, right? It's being able to listen to or read multiple books at one time. It keeps it really fresh, right? So that is my second tip: is make sure that you have variety to it. And then the third thing is hold yourself accountable, right? Just hold yourself accountable to setting a goal for the year and sticking to that goal, right? I am overachieving mine right now, but I also know that there's times in the year when I get exceptionally busy that I may not have time. So I'm trying to get out in front of the goal that I have for this year. And I'm trying to get as many books knocked out as I possibly can in the first couple of months of the year. But when it comes to what titles to read, I would say, there's a couple core titles that I would recommend anybody to read. Self-development books are amazing. Like that's kind of my wheelhouse, self-development or business books. But I think it's really important for you to read a lot on a couple of different topics. One of those being something psychology related in this personal development space, right? So look for those books that help you understand people and understand yourself a little bit better. Those are always some of the most interesting books to me, and I feel like I can never get enough knowledge on understanding other people and understanding myself. It really helps with interactions, and it helps you become more successful in your life when you can understand where other people are coming from. The second part is finance, right? Reading on money and understanding how people leverage money, how people use money, how people acquire companies. For me, how all of that works. The more that you can consume on finance and economics, the more that you're going to understand, kind of the things that are moving around you in this world, right? How people are investing, how people build businesses, how people acquire businesses, why businesses are sold when they're sold. All of those things are really important to understand in your life. And regardless of whether you own a business or not, I think finance and economics is one of the most important things that you can digest. The other thing that I would tell you is so psychology is kind of related. I would recommend, if you're reading psychology books, to look into, neuroscience. Like, what are the things that you consume, whether it be food or alcohol or things like that? How do they affect you? Those are important. And then mental strength and performance, right? How do you control your own mind? If you can read books on how to control your own mind, you have a lot figured out in this world. And last but not least, I would say, understanding health and fitness, understanding how your body works, how food works, how fitness works. I think that being educated on that really helps us be able to detect the things that we may not be doing right in our own lives, and be able to correct those, right? To be able to get those things on track, and to be able to catch ourselves when we're doing those things that could really be not so good for ourselves. But the power of reading books, guys, is unbelievable. It is the way that your life gets better. I always say this. Some of the most powerful mentors that I have, I've never met, and I will never have the opportunity to, because they're no longer here on this earth, right? So, but I've had the opportunity to read their books, to read series of books on who they are. One of those people is John Woodman for me. He was the UCLA basketball coach, championship basketball coach, coined as the greatest coach ever by many. I've read almost every John Wooden book. I'm sure there's a handful that come out here and there that I haven't caught, but I've read so many of John Wooden's books. John Maxwell is another guy that I consider a mentor. John is still with us. I'm looking forward to, hopefully I have a connection that I might get the opportunity to meet John Maxwell this year. And so if I do that, that'll be an incredible honor. He is one of the greatest mentors that I've had in my life, and he has dozens and dozens of books, probably maybe in the hundreds. I don't even know, but it is those are books that are go-tos for me, right? So, but think about that. Who is it that you want to choose as a mentor? Who is it that knows something that you need to know? Who is it that has written down the extensive knowledge that they've acquired in their life to share it with you? And you have yet to take advantage of that. And so I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to lean into reading this year, lean into gaining more knowledge. You will feel different when you gain knowledge on a weekly basis, sometimes on a daily basis. You will feel different. You will have a confidence about you. You will have a lot of things to talk about and share and educate others on. And that feels good. It builds self-confidence. So I encourage you guys to read for a multitude of reasons, but figure out what are those topics that you want to learn about. Think about it this way. When we're in high school and everybody's talking about what they're going to do for college, like what is their major going to be? What do they want to be when they grow up? There's always something that we have a passion for. And then we become adults and we get a job and we go to work and we get a paycheck and we just get on this hamster wheel of just doing the same things over and over again. And it is education that allows us to diversify, to feel useful in other situations outside of the one that is just right in front of us. And so for me, that has been the greatest gift for me, is being able to read books, being able to learn a lot, being able to connect with people, other people that read books. I've been in, several mastermind groups where there's a collective reading of a book, and then we all talk about it, right? And we kind of dissect the book because it's, such an interesting read and such interesting conversation on how different people apply those things to their lives differently. But I want you to think about that. Think about how you're showing up in your own life. Are there topics? Are there subjects that you would like to study that you thought about when you were a kid, and maybe you just haven't gotten around to it yet as an adult? I challenge you to do that, right? Start today. Go, if you don't have a subscription to Audible, I think it's $15 a month. So you can 100% afford that. I don't care. I know someone that literally was virtually homeless, sleeping on other people's couches, and still made the commitment to invest into himself by reading books. And he's one of the most brilliant people that I know today. And that is a result of his own education. And so you can be self-educated. You can challenge yourself to know more, to show up differently for your family and your work. Everywhere that you go, you will be better by reading books. And so that is my challenge for you guys today. And as always, on a Friday, I challenge you to go out like a lion. Don't go out like a mouse, man. Don't cut it off at noon today. Don't look at your watch at 3 o'clock and say, that's enough. It's only January. I got all year to catch up. Set the standard and live to it. Show up, play to the whistle. Have a great Friday, guys. Thank you for being here this morning. I love you guys, and I will see you again Monday morning, same place, same time, right here on Morning Perspective.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.